Today I want to share an idea with you that I think is incredibly powerful, that absolutely changed my life. You see, when I was younger and when I started out my business, there's one thing that I really didn't recognize that tripped me up, which was I kept looking at my results as a metric for my success. And that metric then led to my happiness. And this was such a huge mistake because I didn't notice in the beginning that when you're in your journey and you're just starting out and you're attempting your first video, for example, right? Like when I started making videos, I put a lot of effort in and I'd put 10 hours, 20 hours into editing it, and then I'd review it, and then I'd make a thumbnail, and then I'd upload it, and I'd be like, all right, this video is gonna go viral. And guess what happened? It didn't. And the problem is, when you judge your results, your success based on your results, you're gonna be dissatisfied. You're gonna be disappointed every time when you don't hit the mark. And guess what? In life, very often you don't hit the mark. I would say that almost always, things come differently than you expect them. It's very rarely that you can ever control a result that's difficult to achieve, aka success in a bigger sense. Creating something meaningful isn't possible at the first attempt in most cases. If it is, it's not difficult. It's not a real success, at least by my definition. I mean, you can succeed in turning on a light switch, right? Because that's a pretty simple task that you know how to execute, and you know that every time you do it, you'll get the same result, unless your light bulb breaks, and then you know what to do in that case. So succeeding at something that's difficult requires you to have a different mindset. Because if you keep focusing on your results, you're gonna be discouraged every single time it doesn't go the way you want it to be. And that is, again, the majority. And this is something that only experience tells you, because when I started out, I was a bit arrogant. I thought, no, I'm different, I'm smart, I can do this, I know I'll be different, I'll hit it on the first attempt. Guess what? The more you work on yourself, the harder you try, the more you realize how much effort it took for the people you admire to get to where they are in their life right now. It's a lot of consistency, it's a lot of hours training in the darkness where nobody else gets to see you. And that is only possible when you shift from results-based analysis and then tying your self-worth to that, to something else, which I'm sure you've heard before: enjoying the process. And don't switch off mentally. You might understand this conceptually. So did I at a very young age. However, I completely failed to implement it because my mind kept switching back to, yeah, but you don't have it right now. Whichever the success I thought that I wanted, and if I had it, then I'd be happy. If only I had that relationship, if only I had that certification, if only I had those clients, if only I had those results, then I'd be good enough. That was the message my subconscious kept telling myself. I was not aware of this, by the way. But whenever you're unhappy with the situation you're in right now, I believe it's a very fine line between being motivated to change because you don't like where you're at and driving yourself crazy and destroying your motivation and your self-worth by repeatedly obsessing over the results you have or don't have yet. I believe that there's two ways in which humans change. The one is to run away from pain, and the other one is to run towards pleasure, success, reward. However, both of them are really the same thing when you forget to enjoy the process. I believe that the third option is to disregard success or pleasure and look at what's right in front of you in this moment. If you can, for example, make a video, and you make that video for other people to see, to get a result, to get subscribers, get views, get validation or acknowledgement, well, then you're making a video for a result. When you're making a video because you said so, because you enjoy the process, because it's something you want to do genuinely from a place of heart, well, you're then doing it for a completely different reason. The moment I started to enjoy doing what I'm doing for the sake of doing it, it was no longer about the results that I would get. Therefore, it's much easier to stay consistent. And I really think that most successful people, if not all, more or less, either found a way to push through the pain meaning consciously being okay with being miserable, suffering, pushing themselves to stand up early, to take a cold shower, to go to the gym, to push through all the hardships in business to become successful. But those people really, I admire, and I think that's good for them. And yet many of them don't know how to enjoy their life, aren't truly happy or purposeful or fulfilled. And I think the second way is successful people who found a way to enjoy the journey, who do it for the sake of doing it, who just enjoy the fact that they get to do what they want to do, and who can find the bliss in those little moments every single day of doing what they want to be doing. And I think that this is the mindset shift that changed my life. Now, how do you apply it? Because I know you understand this conceptually. How do you apply it? How do you go from once I have, then I will be, to here I am, and I'm enjoying it right now? Because I believe that this gap between where you are and where you want to be, again, while it can be a motivation to drive you forward, I like to think of my goals as a North Star. I think the best way to think about it is to say, I give the direction for my life. The direction is forward. The direction is ABC. And then I focus all of my effort on enjoying the journey and building a beautiful garden. What I mean with that is, I'm sure you've heard this saying before, don't spend your time chasing butterflies, spend your time building a beautiful garden. In other words, don't focus on results, focus on getting better. Because if you keep getting better, you will eventually succeed. The reason why I first wanted to share the idea of enjoying the process is because I think it's more integral to first enjoy the journey before you ever think of focusing on getting better. Because getting better in a way is also a result. So what happens if you go to the gym for a month and you don't get better? What happens if you don't see the changes you want to be seeing? Well, you will be demotivated and quit. So I think first of all you need to enjoy the journey. But once you're enjoying the journey, I think setting a goal is a very strategic and effective way to get to where you want to go. And instead of setting a goal of an external validation point, which would be money, which would be recognition, which would be a certain amount of whatever it is, subscribers, muscles, kilograms, whatever it is, I'd focus on becoming the person who's able to attain the things you want to attain. Results will follow naturally if you change who you are and you change your behaviors, rather than focusing only on the outside result and metric. Again, am I saying that outside metrics aren't important? No. I just think that they're a byproduct. The more you can truly look at a goal as a byproduct, at the result as a byproduct, the more free you become and the more happy you become, because you no longer tie your self-worth towards that goal. And what you'll realize is, I know people say it all the time, but it really is true. You and your goals, what you think you're gonna get from going where you wanna go, it's really not about that. It's about who you become in the process. And that's the most beautiful, magnificent thing you'll recognize once you get there. And I want to save you some time. I know that some things are better to be experienced, but I really believe that the first step to changing your life, truly, is to recognize why you want what you want. And I think that there's goals that can have both a very beautiful motivation and at the same time have an aspect in them that is, I'm trying to succeed because I don't want to be irrelevant. I'm trying to succeed because I want to prove to everyone who bullied me in school that I'm good enough. I'm trying to succeed to show my parents that I'm worth it. I'm trying to succeed because then I'll get the girls, right? Then I'll get the boy. I'm trying to look a certain way because then I X, Y, and Z. I'm trying to lose weight so I can look the part, be good enough, no longer be judged. That's not a motivation that's going to sustain you in a healthy way. Because even when you achieve the goal, you'll recognize that the thing you were searching all along was self-love. The thing you were searching all along was acceptance from yourself, nobody else. The moment you project to the outside, you'll recognize that once you get the thing, it won't fulfill you. So instead of saying I want to lose weight to look the part, what if you want to lose weight because you love your body and you want to grow old and healthy? What if instead of saying, I want to be rich so I can be good enough, you want to be rich because you love freedom, because you want to love sharing, because you want to add a lot of value to the world, and you want to be compensated for that. I think that the reason you're taking action is just as important as understanding the idea I just shared with you. And I really think that it can absolutely change your life. So again, instead of focusing on the results, focus on enjoying the process. Instead of focusing on the results, focus on becoming better. Because if you just keep becoming better, you will eventually succeed. There's no other way. There's some people who say become so good that they can't ignore you. I kind of hate it and I kind of love it because it's so true. I don't think it's about them though, right? That's why I say I kind of hate it, but I do love it. It's not about them, it's about you. It's about your journey and you becoming the best version of yourself. It's not about proving to someone else, being ignored or not ignored. But I think that very often your outside success can be connected with your inside and what people. But I do think that sometimes your internal success can partially be connected with other people or success in the outside. But what you'll find is that that's never what it really was about. I hope this changes your life as much as it did mine, and I hope it doesn't take you as many years as it took me to fully understand this. I want you to listen to this carefully and think about it deeply and think about it from different levels of perspective in your own life and in your own psyche, because I truly believe some of these things are very unconscious and you need to make it conscious, because I conceptually understood this very early on in my life, and yet this program ran my life for almost 10 years, for many years, I would say 5 years actively, and then I started to unravel it. I truly believe that you have to make the unconscious conscious here, because as a very smart person whose name I've forgotten once said, maybe it was Jung, I'm not sure, you have to make your unconscious conscious, because if you don't, it will rule your life and you'll call it fate. Something along those lines. You have to make the unconscious conscious, because if you don't, it will run your life and you'll call it fate. And that is true, my friends. Hope this changed your life as much as it changed mine.